Welcome to episode 6 of Truth Seekers. I'm Bryan Radzin. This is my podcast. This is probably the fifth, sixth, seventh time I've tried to tape this episode. I've been having some technical difficulties with my microphone here, but it's important to have a good microphone and good cords and good equipment. Obviously, not professional, you know. Well, can't afford the expensive stuff yet, but that's okay. One day. Anyway, today I'd like to talk about trust, which is funny because apparently I haven't been able to trust my equipment. Finally figured out what the problem is, so that's a good thing. But it's hard to keep trust in our lives in a lot of ways. Trusting our parents, trusting authority, trusting the government. I mean, how can we trust the government if they've constantly lied to us for years and years and years and years and years? Generations. Why have they lied to us? Well, control. They don't want a healthy, informed population. Could question them and overthrow them, maybe. So how are we supposed to trust, how are we supposed to trust a government that keeps making a buck off of everything they can, that keeps profiting off everything they can, that will do anything to look good but then turn their back the minute the cameras are away? I'm not just talking about Reconstruction, although that's kind of the same idea as why that got messed up, and a lot of other things too, probably. But so how can we trust the government? How can we trust people who say they're there for us to protect and serve? Police. We're supposed to trust the police. Well, we're supposed to. They're supposed to protect and serve us. But how are we supposed to trust the police if we're a black man going down the road and every time we get pulled over we have to wonder if we're going to be shot? Now, some areas might have a little less of this than other areas, but how are you supposed to trust something like that? How are you supposed to trust a police force that is scared of you when you're the one that they're supposed to protect? How are you supposed to trust them? How are you supposed to trust a government that keeps lying us into wars, keeps lying us into economic calamities? How are we supposed to trust any of that? Someone that's completely lied to us for years and years and years and years that we don't believe anybody anymore. How are we supposed to trust that? Well, trust is earned. They need to earn it. However, if we go along with the assumption that politicians aren't created in the laboratories, aren't created by some alien witch doctor, but they come from us, if we go with that adage, because they are human beings, no matter how corrupt or messed up we may or may not think they are, they come from us. Which means that these trust issues stem from us not trusting each other. And why don't we trust each other? Well, that could be a million different reasons, really. One could be that we're told that, it's not the government's fault for your ills. It's all these other people that are taking what's yours, taking more of your share than you should have. And they don't deserve any. You deserve it. It's their fault. Go blame them. So then we blame them, while at the same time, they're told to blame us. That we're the problem for all their ills. That we're the ones that they should blame. Well, what happens when we start fighting each other and realize that we're really fighting the same thing? Income inequality, class issues, race and class go together. I'll be talking about that in future episodes. But how do we build trust amongst each other when it's been burnt out for so long? Well, I can tell you, I can tell you, start trusting ourselves. Because how can we trust anybody else if we don't trust ourselves? Trust ourselves to make the right decisions. Trust ourselves to not fly off the handle when things don't call for it. I'm not perfect. I certainly see myself as doing that sometimes. Although none of us are perfect. All of us have our hang-ups, our foibles, however you want to pronounce it. You know, so how do we start trusting ourselves? Well, we start living our true lives. How do we start living our true lives? Well, we start being honest with ourselves. Sometimes this is hard for people, especially if you've never done it before. I mean, I'm getting used to really trusting myself. Constant battle. So you do have although you do have to trust yourself, living your true to be honest and love yourself, and to live your true life, you have to be honest, obviously. And if you have to be honest to live your true life, other people have to be honest to live their true lives. And then when you start living your true lives and you start interacting with and then when we start interacting with each other, the truth will come out. And we'll realize that we're all going through the same shit. It might be painted a different hue, but we're all going through the same shit. You know, trying to find a decent job, take care of our family, not get them sick in this crazy virus age thing we're living in. So, going along with that, if we have to trust ourselves before we can trust others, how can we do that if we're constantly still learning to trust ourselves? Well, how can we move on to the second step if we haven't fully finished the first step? Well, that's life. Life is never cut and dry. Life is never black and white. Steps often overlap each other. And just because we are evolving doesn't mean we can't get better at other things that we may have already looked over, which we can, and we will. Trust. It's everything. I mean, they say it's everything in a relationship, trust and honesty. Now, trust and faith, those are pretty similar, although faith, I may do another episode on it itself because that interests me, as a lot of things do. So, we start trusting ourselves by letting ourselves know it's okay to live our true lives, who we really are. Not hide anything from ourselves. No point in it anymore. Everything's so out in the open, why hide anything? Why not be your true self? What do you really have to lose that hasn't already been stripped away? Get off that pedestal, live our true life, see others living their true life. We start interacting. It's all good, right? Well, nothing is fully there. However, and it won't automatically happen. But once we go through doing that for a while, I mean, change comes slow in this country, right? Martin Luther King Jr. said, that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Well, that means that this trust we're building in each other and these true lives that we're learning about, and then we're teaching our kids, and our kids are teaching their kids, these sorts of things, the reason why change is slow in this country is because it takes a few generations. As well, this might take a few generations before we have that trust, know that trust, live that trust, love that trust enough to then elect politicians that really represent us, represent that trust, that love, and maybe then will we be able to trust the government. Because we're finally trusting ourselves. Because if we actually trusted ourselves and trusted other people, would we keep electing people to the government that say they're going to keep, that that say they want to destroy it? I mean, why do you have to be in the government if you just want to destroy the government? It doesn't make any sense. You don't have to be in the government to destroy it. There's a lot of people in the corporate classes in the Democratic and Republican parties, probably more Republican, but I'm not going to say that there aren't Democrats that aren't looking for total control and world domination. I use that word facetiously because I'm, not going down the conspiratorial rabbit hole with that one. But we earn trust in the government when we earn trust in ourselves. We earn trust in authority when we earn trust in ourselves, because then we become the authority. We can also see how living our true selves, they're living their true selves. They see us for what we actually are, not what we think they are. I mean, granted, I grew up Jewish. I know how it is with anti-Semitism and people putting you down for things that you aren't really. People thinking you things that you're not. Hello, that's why I wear this hat, Make Racists Afraid Again, because people think it says something else. So not only is it a strong anti-racist statement, it makes people question themselves by thinking it says one thing when it really says another. And that's a problem with racism in the first place. We need to trust our eyes. Of course, there's the famous, Heard It Through the Grapevine, I think I remember hearing it in. A few different versions of that song. But people believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. So half of what you see. However, if we never believe anything, we'll never progress. We'll never trust ourselves enough to take that first step. We'll never trust ourselves to keep messing with this video camera over 2 days, yelling and swearing, about to throw it out the window and break it and smash it and hammer it, and dreams and fantasies of how many smithereens and powdered dust it can be blown up into or sledgehammered. That might be fun. But I trusted myself enough to keep going. Barely. Swore a lot. But I got through it. I kept going. I knew there was something. Now, I didn't know what it was that kept pulling me forward, but there was something. Maybe that was the trust. The trust that was always there. Trust that always will be there for us. So we can love ourselves, we can love other people, and trust is the same way, honesty. That's when we create the better government that we want, that we all need, that we all think of. Trust is everything. And I'm not talking about trust but verify, because that's not really trust. Now, blind trust isn't trust either. But what's the difference between regular trust and trust but verify if blind trust is different? Well, we believe in somebody. Somebody comes to us with some whacked out plan and they say, trust me. Do we? Should we? Sometimes. I know that's been kind of played out in way too many movies over the years, but I guess trust is a little bit blind. But it's trusting the process. That is the most important part of this whole thing. Trusting the process. Putting ourselves out there, doing the work, being good people, treating ourselves right, eating right, stimulating our minds, sometimes our bodies. And why do we do all this? Because we want to progress. And we want to move forward. We want to create that loving universe now. Trust. Trust is a process. It's all the process. Got to put in the work. Like I said, all that stuff. Take care of ourselves. Once we do all that, put the work in, take care of ourselves, eat right, sleep right, all that. Once we do that, we put it out to the universe and sort of let it go. Now, we don't let it go as in forgetting about it. We just let it go as in not thinking about it all the time. Move on to other issues. The universe knows about it at that point, and it will do something. We just have to trust the process of the work we put in. Because if we're not going to trust our own work that we put into the process, how are we going to trust the process or anything? This is why trust starts with us. Trusting the process and the work we put in, and not just the love we take is equal to the love we make. But if we can trust that the only thing we really need is love, maybe it is the real definition of it. Truth, faith, trust. It's all in the same ballpark. But trusting the process, letting it work, means being our true selves, moving forward the best we can with the knowledge we have. And somewhere knowing things will work out. We will eventually trust the government. We will eventually trust police because we will become the police and we will unite with them on this human level. Now, I know this is a long, drawn-out process and it's going to take far longer than I'm going to be on this earth. But the more conscious we are in our singular interactions, human, it's all we have to do. Trust enough in ourselves to be that true human that we are. Then the true human that other people are will come out too. We can trust that. Believe that. Well, I love you all. We'll talk soon. Remember to like and share this video and hit the subscribe button. Links for all my social media, my website, and where to buy my books are in the description below. Love and gratitude will find a way. We just have to keep the conversations going. See you all soon.